What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Mic Check Podcast. This is T Word, the People's Champ. Thanks for tapping in. Today, we're talking about a little bit of boxing. We're going to recap this Saturday's action. But before we get into the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We appreciate that feedback. All right, guys. So we're going to start and get this thing going really quickly and start with the first card of the day, which was women's boxing, headlined by Crews-Dezurn and Savannah Marshall for Undisputed. Prior to that fight, Natasha Jonas got in the ring and she was fighting for a vacant IBF welterweight title, and she did beat Candy Wyatt via stoppage. The stoppage looked a little funky to me. The opponent was still throwing punches, so it looked like a little bit premature, but I did believe that Jonas was in control. She was able to get good combinations off. She was faster. She got there first. When they threw together, she definitely was landing more effectively. So I thought that she did have control of the fight. So I'm not completely upset about the stoppage, but I thought it might have been a little premature. I felt her opponent might have had a little bit more left, but nonetheless, I think the outcome was already on its way. So the ref probably thought the same thing and said, hey, I'm just going to save her from herself. So congrats to Natasha Jonas for getting her belt, and I believe that's like her second or third division. So good for her. Into the main event, Savannah Marshall, Crews-Dezurn. This was the undisputed women's super middleweight crown, and ring and everything was on the line. And Savannah Marshall did what she needed to do. She actually surprised me. She was able to get the win without a knockdown, but she battered and pushed Franchon around, and not just from like I'm a bigger woman type of standpoint, but more from I'm going to do what I want to do in the ring. She's really effective with her punches. Much like Natasha Jonas, when they threw at the same time, she got there first. She was throwing a lot of straight punches that were just landing. Her combinations were effective. Franchon looked very slow. Looking at her physique, I don't too much like to get into this with the women, but now that she doesn't have those belts, I think it's probably best for her to come down. I was looking at some images of Franchon not that long ago, and she looked like she probably will be in better conditioning, meaning she'll be able to let her hands go and do more if she goes down to a smaller weight class and actually just keep that ass in the gym. I think that might be really good for her to get back on the winning side of things. Even though she's got friends down in the lower classes, I think she needs to get down there and compete with them girls. I know part of the reason she stayed up at super middle was because her and Clarissa Shields are friends. But now that you don't have the belts, I think you should move around and find better opportunities. But this isn't about Franchon necessarily. This is definitely about the mastery that Savannah Marshall put on. You can see that when she's in there with a slugger, she's going to come out looking like the much better boxer, and she did that. And her boxing was enough to win, and congrats to her because she did all the right things. She threw power when she needed to, and she rocked Franchon a couple of times. But it was also kind of like I said before the fight, some of the shots that probably were putting girls down, they were just kind of wobbling Franchon or making her kind of pause, but they weren't as effective. But when there's enough of them and the judges are seeing those punches, I think that really favors Savannah. So shout out to her. Moving on to the later card of the day, you have the one that was headlined by Jared Anderson against Charles Martin. And some of the other fights on this card that I mentioned beforehand, Jahai Tucker was someone I spoke highly of, and he definitely disappointed on Saturday. Whether it was him not taking his opponent seriously or there being some serious flaws in his game as far as not listening to his corner, whatever the case may be, he did lose a majority decision to his opponent's last name is Flies. That guy came to fight, and I could see that he was getting with Jahai. He would take his little shots and eat a couple combos and come right back with a combo of his own. So he definitely gave him hell in the cell, and he was able to pull out the win. Giving Jahai Tucker his first loss. This was an 8-round majority decision in favor of, how do you say this guy's name? Nicholas Flies. All right. Also on the card, there's a couple of heavyweights. You have Makhmudov and Ashpajuri. And Makhmudov got the stoppage over Ashpajuri. It was a pretty good scrap until it wasn't. That's the most I'm going to say about that. It just was kind of big dudes just hammering each other, and it eventually ended with the stoppage. All right, then it was kind of weird the way this was positioned, but Abdullah Mason was next against Alex de Oliveira, and that opponent was, I believe, 18 years older than him because Abdullah's 19 and this guy was 37. So this guy's old enough to be his father, and Abdullah beat his ass, got him up out of there real quick. He was just too much, too strong, too fast, too sharp. This was a good step up for him. This fight was a 6-round lightweight fight, and I mean, even though I think he's kind of busting at the seams at 135 because he's weighing in a sheet, a small towel, I think, he'll be more effective at 140. It's just there's better fights at 35, and he's going to be able to work his way up the ranks because there's so many mid-level people he can fight that's going to continue to raise his profile and give him experience. And then we move on to the main event, Jared Anderson and Charles Martin. And Charles Martin was a live dog, and he gave Anderson all he could stand. He humbled Big Baby. He staggered him a couple of times. He made him wobble. He buckled his knees. Charles Martin got some crazy power, man. Like, it's some shots that he threw, and it looked like it shouldn't have been big time shots, but they were big shots, and he was able to back Big Baby Anderson up and made him really have to fight. The fight went the distance, all 10 rounds. Anderson did get the unanimous decision, which I thought he deserved. When he won rounds, he won very convincingly. And when he was in trouble, it was obvious he was in trouble. But he weathered the storm, and this is going to look really good for him, not only on his resume being a former champion, but also the experience of going the distance and knowing that you can muster up enough strength, skill, and determination to win a fight. I thought that this was good for him. So that's going to be this weekend's recaps. Did you watch any fights? What did you think of them? Were there any surprises for you? Did anything stand out that you think was notable? Feel free to drop it in the comments. This has been T for the Mic Check Podcast. Until the next time, I am out. Peace.